Good day, everyone. I am Mr. Christian Dave De Leon, and I'm joined here with Miss Mary Grace Dublin and Miss Pauline Andonna, and we are here to present our research study entitled Effectiveness of Flipped Classroom and Cooperative Learning Strategies to Science Performance Among Grade 9 Students.
The K-12 program was implemented in the Philippines for the enhancement of the basic educational program in our country. The main features of the K-12 program is that it follows the constructivism approach where the concepts are constructed and learned by the students based from the different activities. Because of this, it led us to our research concept. Now, for the conceptual framework, we aim to see the effectiveness of the blended learning specifically the flipped classroom and the cooperative learning strategies to the science performance of the students. The main objective of this study is to determine the effect of using both blended learning strategies, again specifically the flipped classroom, and various cooperative learning strategies to the science performance of students, as compared of the typical lecture method. The study will determine the effect of using flipped learning and cooperative learning strategies in teaching biodiversity to the science performance of grade 9 students of De La Salle Araneta University during the school year of 2019 to 2020. The following problems were answered in the course of the research in particular. So the first problem that were answered is there a significant difference between the pre-test and post-test scores of the students when taught using first the conventional learning method and the flipped classroom and cooperative learning strategies? Now, the second one is the difference between the science performance of the students using the above mentioned strategies. Now, for the research design, the study used an experimental pre-test and post-test control group design. The data are gathered before and after the treatment of the experiment. The research design aimed to see the effect of the flipped classroom combined with cooperative learning in their science achievement. In this design, both groups were assessed on a pre-test measures. The treatment was administered to one group and then both groups were assessed on a post-test measures. No randomized were made on the samples. The diagram below illustrates the research design utilized in the study, wherein the group is divided into two, which is the experimental group and the control group, wherein both groups received a pre-test and post-test.
And for the sampling and participants, the respondents of the study consisted two sections from grade 9 students of De La Salle Araneta University, which were enrolled during the school year 2019 to 2020. One section will be treated and the other one will be controlled group. So in the treated group, the class will practice the flipped learning while the controlled group will have a lecture discussion class. So the researchers utilize non-random sampling technique, specifically the convenient sampling method. For the instruments used, the learning plan that was used for both the experimental and control group was anchored from the Lasallian Learning Module Plan that was prepared by one of the researchers. However, there were additional activities that were included for the learning plan for the experimental group that will serve as the intervention of this study. So in which this will refer to the flipped classroom and cooperative learning strategies. The researchers have prepared a 20-item multiple choice question exam that was used to assess the science performance of the students. So the said MCQs are made on the knowledge and process questions which are all aligned with the learning competencies about biodiversity on the grade 9 level as prescribed on the K-12 Science Curriculum Guide by the Department of Education. For the data gathering procedure, so the students from both the experimental and control groups will be subjected to a 20-item multiple choice questions about the topic chosen, in which they were given a pretest prior to the instruction with and without the intervention. So then, the experimental group will receive the intervention in which they will be taught using the flipped classroom and cooperative learning strategies. After the course of the intervention, Both of the groups were subjected again to the same 20-item multiple choice exam, which will serve as the post-test for the instruction, a summative assessment in nature.
For the results and discussion, to determine if there is a significant difference between the pre-test and post-test scores, the t-test for dependent samples were used with a confidence level of 95%. The first table shows the comparison between the pre-test and post-test scores of the control group, wherein the mean score of the pre-test is 9.92 and the post-test is 12.58 with a mean difference of 2.67 and a p-value of 5.39. From this, the null hypothesis is rejected, in which we can say that there is a significant difference between the pretest and post-test scores, wherein it can be inferred from this that the utilization of the conventional lecture method helps in improving the science performance of the students. Table 2, on the other hand, shows the comparison between the pretest and post-test scores of the experimental group, wherein the mean score is 10.53 and the post-test is 13.67 with a mean difference of 3.14 and a p-value of 6.65, wherein the null hypothesis is also rejected, in which from this, we can say that there's a significant difference between the pretest and post-test scores, which it can be inferred that the utilization of the flipped classroom and cooperative learning strategies helps in improving the science performance of the students. The results revealed that in the two tables shows that regardless of the teaching strategy that was used, there was a significant improvement on the science performance of the students after the intervention. For the second one, to determine if there's a significant difference between the post-test scores between the science performance of the experimental and control groups, the t-test for independent samples was utilized. The table below shows the summary of the results, wherein the mean score of the two post-test groups is 2.67 and the t-value is 5.39, which rejects the null hypothesis and shows that there is a significant difference between the post-test scores when the students are taught using the flipped classroom and the cooperative learning strategies, as compared to the students taught using the conventional method. This only shows that the intervention that was used for the students was considered as an effective one. Based on the foregoing data, the following conclusions were made. First, there is a significant difference between the pretest and post-test scores of the treated and controlled group, wherein the treated group shows a positive impact in the post-test than those who are in the control group. And second, that there is also a significant difference between the science performance of the treated group than the controlled group, since the treated group shows a higher score than the control group. The following recommendations were made by the researchers for future researches. First, teacher-made videos can be utilized for flipped classroom instead of using ready-made videos in the internet. This can enable the teacher to modify his or her instruction based on the needs of her students. Second, other varieties of blended learning and cooperative learning strategies can be used to determine the consistency of the results of this study. And third, modification on the assessments such as pre-response, unstructured questions, and performance-based assessment can be used to describe the science performance of the students. Here are some of the references that we utilize for our study. Thank you very much. If you have questions, feel free to send us an email. Thank you so much and God bless.